Dr. Lewis is financially compensated with company stock options. Results not typical and may vary based on individual circumstances.
Basically, if nature provides it, it's probably good for us. If man has to manufacture it and mess around with it, it probably is not so good. So I would say of the top three, absolutely seafood, fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Wild-caught type of seafood is by far better than your typical farm-raised. Let's take salmon, for example. So wild-caught Pacific Northwest salmon has huge amounts, one of the best sources of omega-3s that we could put into our diet, whereas Atlantic salmon and farm salmon are generally devoid of omega-3s. And honestly, you can see that in the color, where they have to, if you take farm salmon, they have to add pink or red dye to make it even look like salmon. So my number one seafood of choice is always wild-caught Pacific Northwest salmon. I'm a huge fan of oysters and wild-caught shrimp and other types of seafoods. But there is, I will say, besides farmed seafood, there's one other one that I would absolutely avoid, and that would be tilapia. Tilapia is one of the worst things for it. It's a great source of protein, but it has essentially no omega-3s and very high in omega-6s, and a lot of it comes from China and is filled with different toxins and PCBs and microplastics and things that we know are just not good for us. 1 or 2 days of a week of high quality seafood generally is thought to be pretty good. But if you look at other societies such as Japan or Iceland, they eat fish pretty much every single day and sometimes multiple times a day. Americans just aren't going to do that. If you're not getting enough quality seafood, that's why we have supplements, omega-3 supplements or fish oil supplement. The way I would look at it is people get all tied up in how much EPA or how much DHA or what's the ratio of that EPA to DHA. That's not the ratio that I'm concerned about. Both are actually very important. We know DHA is more important for the brain, but we also know that EPA is more the heart-healthy antioxidant one. So we need to have both of them in our diet and in our supplements. Two areas that I do get concerned about, one is the ratio, is how much EPA and DHA is actually in a supplement itself. So if you have 1,000 milligram capsule, a typical over-the-counter capsule you would get at a local drugstore or pharmacy would have 180 milligrams of EPA and 120 milligrams of DHA. That's 300 milligrams of the important omega-3s. My question is, what's the other 700? We don't know. They don't list it on the product label, and so we're just left to guess what is 70% of a fish oil supplement. We have no idea. I highly recommend what a good quality fish oil will have is 80 or 90% concentration, as in 800 or 900 milligrams of EPA or DHA in a 1,000 milligram capsule. To me, that's far more important than how much EPA versus DHA. But the other one area that people often want to debate is what is the form of the omega-3s. So omega-3s, the free fatty acids, are highly unstable. So they have to be combined with something. Just like sodium needs chloride to make table salt, omega-3s have to be combined with something. So if you squeeze a fish, you're going to get triglycerides principally and some phospholipids, which are much more stable, much more well absorbed. What we find in the manufacturing process is that they break the bond of the triglyceride, and now you have those free fatty acids, and you have to combine it with something to keep it stable, so they combine it with an alcohol molecule. That new molecule is no longer an oil, it's actually called an ethyl ester. And our bodies have not evolved to be able to digest ethyl esters. Even if products have concentrated amounts of omega-3s, but are in ethyl ester form, not only do I find they're not well absorbed, But generally, those are the types of products that cause that regurgitation, that fish burp that people often complain about. Good quality products should never repeat on you if they're a good triglyceride or good phospholipid form. And so overall, I think that people should be getting about 2,000 milligrams every single day of the combined amount of EPA and DHA. So if you're not getting it through good quality seafood, you should be doing it with a good quality supplement.